The proposed tar sands pipeline has been called the mother of all pipelines. If approved, it will pump heavy, tarry oil from Alberta all the way to Saint John, New Brunswick. The pipeline company says it's a nation-building exercise that somehow benefits Canadians, even though most of their oil will be sold overseas. In truth, only the oil companies and the banks will prosper from the pipeline, and already the grandiose predictions for lots of New Brunswick jobs have dwindled to a mere handful, and those mostly for the few months it would take to construct the pipeline. But all New Brunswickers will forever share the enormous risk of a mammoth pipe snaking its way through the forests, farms, and waterways of our province, a pipe gushing 1 million barrels a day. 1 million barrels of heavy oil every day, 365 days a year, year after year, flowing across New Brunswick. That's a lot of risk. Risk to the tens of thousands of New Brunswick jobs in fisheries and tourism, as well as all the related services and industries that could be wiped out by even one pipeline disaster. But there's never just one.
Investigators are still trying to find out what caused this Trans-Canada pipeline explosion.
The company has already had huge spills, explosions, and other disasters.
Of another Trans-Canada pipeline explosion where answers were promised and effectively buried for 3 years.
And they've even been severely reprimanded by the regulatory authorities.
Consider some of the findings about what caused the rupture: inadequate field investigation, inadequate inspection, and this. External corrosion has become the predominant failure mechanism, causing 16 leaks and 6 ruptures.
But this time, they say they could stop a New Brunswick disaster in 10 minutes, after only 1 million litres has leaked. Only 1 million litres? And 10 minutes to find and stop a disaster? That's pretty hard to believe.
Images like this and this create concern about pipeline safety in this country. Finding out the government failed to release a frightening report may only add to the fear factor. Susan Bonner, CBC News, Toronto.
And even if they could stop a disaster in 10 minutes, what if that 1 million litres of heavy sludge is oozing to the bottom of the Miramichi River, Belial Bay, or the Bay of Fundy? Past experience shows that only 20% could ever be removed. 80% will be there forever. End of story for the fisheries. And they tell us their pipeline is going to cross lots of New Brunswick waterways throughout the Saint John River Basin, as well as across rivers like the Tobique, Salmon, and Madawaska, and Coal Creek through to Grand Lake. And then there's the Bay of Fundy, where, they tell us, a steady stream of supertankers will move almost all of their tarry Alberta oil down to Texas. Or, if the Americans refuse, they'll just send the dirtiest oil in the world to environmentally unregulated countries like China or India. What can you do? What can you do? Yes, you can have a say in whether the pipeline goes ahead. Yes, you can. Join the conversation now and help us end this foolish plan by speaking up for New Brunswick. They're holding a public hearing. You can be part of it. We'll make it easy. But there are just 2 kinds of people who are allowed to talk to the NEB: people who are directly affected and people who have special knowledge. Directly affected people are those like farmers whose farming could be damaged, interrupted, or even totally destroyed by the pipeline construction or a pipeline disaster. Or property owners whose home and land values will drop. Or First Nations people who will lose their traditional ways of using the land because of the pipeline. Special knowledge people are experts, not only academic experts and other professionals who have something to say, but also regular people who are experts because they are long-time hunters or fishers or woods workers, and so they too have something important to say because of their life experience. So if you hunt or fish near the pipeline route, you can talk to the NEB about how a pipeline disaster would affect you. They'll listen. Or if you're a professional like a doctor, economist, environmental engineer, or scientist, you can talk to the NEB about how you think a pipeline disaster will affect people's health, businesses, the environment, or wherever your expertise lies. For instance, if you're an expert in First Nations history and culture, you can talk about how a pipeline disaster will affect First Nations. The National Energy Board is accepting applications to participate in the pipeline hearing now, and Canadians from coast to coast are already speaking up to have their say. Join your fellow New Brunswickers by standing up for our whales, our water, and the beautiful Bay of Fundy. We'll help if you'd like. Just fill out a simple form at www.conservationcouncil.ca and we'll get you started. It's not difficult, but hurry. They only give you 30 days to get your letter in. The countdown is on our site. New Brunswick is the picture province, but if we don't act immediately, what will that picture be tomorrow? Contact us now.